Hello, Bolt family. Today, we're going to talk about the OTAs and how it's signaling to us as Charger fans that this might be a special year. Let's get it.
You're streaming the Bolt Dad Podcast with your host, Bolt Dad.
Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe for more content like this.
Bolt up, baby.
All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Like I had mentioned, today we're going to talk about the OTAs and how it's signaling something special might be on the horizon for this Chargers season. I'm not necessarily forecasting a Super Bowl win, but there's something to be said about how the Chargers are reporting to OTA and their general demeanor, and it is getting me excited, and I hope it's getting you excited too.
Yeah, the culture is growing. Obviously, you can tell with all the free agents we signed. They like it. They like what they see. They like what they're hearing. I think they like what they see on tape too.
So if you haven't been paying attention or your head's been under a rock, essentially what's been going on is social media has been posting out all of the great updates with the Chargers and who hasn't been reporting. Well, the big news that has recently come out is all of the free agent acquisitions. They're all reporting, and even established players like Khalil Mack. This is a great thing because even though Khalil Mack is new to the Chargers, it is still voluntary. He does not have to report. Well, guess who also reported, and by the way, who really hasn't reported at all in previous seasons to voluntary OTAs? That's Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa showed up, and that signals something to me. That signals that Brandon Staley has officially changed our culture to a winning culture. That's a big deal. So what do I mean by that? Historically, Joey Bosa has not showed up to voluntary OTAs in the past. He has stayed home with his trainers. He's always showed up on time and in shape when it's mandatory. But as far as coming in voluntarily during voluntary workouts and OTAs, he hasn't done that.
You know, I think Joey never comes to this OTA. Joey always shows up in exceptional shape. We know he's got his guys in Florida that he likes working out with, and they bust their tails. And there's never an issue there. But the fact that he decided to roll out to California and kind of hang out with his teammates, you saw it on all the great social media posts that Jason and Megan and the team puts up there. Derwin like, oh, snap, Joey's here. I think there is something to be taken away from that, that here's the team.
I think in the past, he might have trusted his trainers, his team that he has back in Florida to really help him get him in shape. This year, I think this says, with him showing up, it says, hey, not only do I love this culture, do I really like what's going on, something special, but it also signals that, hey, maybe he actually trusts the training and conditioning staff. We all know as Charger fans, knock on wood here, that's been a big deal. We just could not be healthy. Well, last year under Brandon Staley, we were relatively, compared to most teams and compared to us in the past, we were healthy last season. So I remember hearing and talking about during Brandon Staley going into the very first year of his head coach tenure that he was going to really get strength and conditioning up. It's going to be a winning edge, as he says. And what that was he was going to have, before every practice, have an extra long build-up of yoga-type exercises, stretching, and conditioning before they actually got into it. Even recently, Keenan Allen, during his press conference, was mentioning how Brandon Staley is a player's coach. But he wasn't mentioning it in a rah-rah sort of way. He was mentioning it in a way that he's player-friendly in helping them getting conditioned and really making sure that they're healthy.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like I said, we're competing every day. Coach is definitely being a player's coach as far as keeping us healthy, not making us do too much. It's more football, more basics, more understanding technique, more understanding assignment. And when we get down to it, we know what to do.
Not overworking them necessarily. And while that may or may not necessarily be a big deal for other teams, to me that signals that the players trust him. They feel like Brandon Staley's in their corner, that he's going to do the right thing for them, and the right thing, what's right for the team. And that is availability, being available on the field when it matters. So to hear that from a lot of people, and especially Keenan Allen, who's a veteran, and then also to see that, right, actions are louder than words, to see that Joey Bosa is showing up and he's actually trusting our training staff and our conditioning staff to really help him make further his career, further his prolong the season and his availability during the season. That says a lot. Obviously, there's other things that contribute to, I imagine, why he's showing up, right? So Joey Bosa is probably showing up because he wants to get to know Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack, even though he is essentially a free agent acquisition, we traded for him just before free agency. He's still a veteran. It's still all voluntary, and he showed up. So to see that, to see J.C. Jackson, Mr. INT show up, that is a big deal. And then, of course, other veterans. You think Duran James, right? He's a leader on the field. Listen to him during his press conference. He was just super excited and ready to go. It's kind of interesting to hear his tone, because when you listen to Duran James, he had his usual confident self when he was talking, but he was also kind of talking to I'm here to establish, continue to grow my leadership and establish the leadership. And something about the tone, the way he said it, struck with me, because as Keenan Allen stated, every single position group you look around, I mean, there's Super Bowl caliber talent. There's Pro Bowl after Pro Bowler level talent, and there's depth in our defense now.
Like I said, the coach is growing. You got guys like myself, Derwin, Herbert, Every Van Noy's here, Khalil Mack's here. So Joey Bosa showed up today. Mike Will's in the building. Those are guys who you don't expect to be at OTAs, and then when we all show up, come out to practice, come to the meetings, it lets you know that we got something special going on.
And that is just exciting. And of course, this is all led by none other than Justin Herbert. Now, I don't want us to take for granted, and I don't think we are, but I don't want us to take for granted now or in the future what Justin Herbert is bringing to the table in terms of being there and constantly grinding and constantly improving. When I was listening to Mike Williams' press conference, that was a real eye-opener in terms of Justin Herbert, and when he had mentioned how he's just always there. He's always trying to get better and improve.
Well, he's just a lot more. He calm. He know what to expect now. He know the offense. He know every spot to be in. So he's just playing a lot more smooth, and he put in the extra work with us.
And then Joe Lombardi, if you haven't listened to his presser, that was a great one, because in a similar tone, when they asked about Justin Herbert, he was saying, well, you know what, we're going to, instead of, QB 101 school, we're doing 202, right? We're working on 202.
Everyone's familiar with the terminology, and so a lot less stress at this time of year anyway, because, they've had a year to digest everything. Justin's bandwidth is a lot wider for everything, so we can, focus on some football 202 type stuff rather than just getting in and out of the huddle. First and foremost, it's just familiarity with all the play calls where, last year at this time it was just, all right, hearing the play, repeating it in the huddle, and kind of understanding what the play is. And that was a lot of calories burnt last year, and this year it's, he's got that part down, so you can just, like you said, he can focus on what the defense is doing a little bit more and get his timing down with the receivers and all of that. So it's everything.
And what he essentially was saying is there was a lot on his plate last season. Even Justin Herbert, in his own words, had mentioned that he was drowning. He felt like he was drowning during the first season, which isn't crazy. It's crazy to think that because he had over 5,000 yards. But going into the season, Joe Lombardi was saying, you know what? He is much calmer going into OTAs. He knows all the calls. Now he can focus more attention on the defense and analyzing everything. And that is a big deal, right? And historically, quarterbacks make the biggest jump in the third year. Now, granted, this is only his second year in the same offensive scheme, same offensive system, but he is making sure that he's crossing his T's and dotting his I's when it comes to the playbook. And I think we're going to really start to see that leadership growth on the field in terms of, hey, you need to be there. You need to be there. This is the position that you need to be in. What are you doing over here, right? That's the sort of thing that if you have been a Chargers fan for long enough, you have seen Justin Herbert, he's starting to do, but you've seen Rivers do for years. In fact, I remember there was one particular, I believe it was a mic'd up with Rivers, and he had actually, I think it was Eckler was not in the right position. He's like, "What are you doing here? Get out of here!" Right. So the point is that Herbert is going to be able to get to that level where he's going to be able to really not only master the offense, but then make sure everybody around him, aka the wide receivers and even the offensive line with Corey Linsley, making sure everybody's in the right position for pass protection, make sure that the running backs are ready for pass protection. That's going to be a big deal with Spiller. I think he's going to be a fantastic running back for us, a really great combination 1-2 punch alongside Eckler. But is he going to be able to do pass pro? Well, a big advantage to having Rivers when he was around, he had a bad offensive line for many of the years he was here, but he was able to compensate by making sure he knew exactly what the defense was, and then he made sure all the time you could hear it, he made sure that, hey, running back, make sure you get that guy, that so-and-so is the mic, make sure you get that guy. And that made a big difference for running backs, and that's incredibly important pass protection. So we're going to see that growth with Herbert this year, and that's why I am so excited. That tells me that, listening to Joe Lombardi, it tells me that, hey, there's something special on the horizon here for this season. It's hard for me to predict Super Bowl. I don't want to say Super Bowl or bust. I think it would be a shame, though, if we didn't get deep into the playoffs. Now, the passionate side of me says we're going to get to the Super Bowl, but there's a lot of things that have to factor into that to make sure that becomes a reality, aka health, right? That's the biggest thing. And then beyond that, not making silly little mistakes that we've seen Chargers do in the past. And that's not going to happen when there's good communication. Especially, we talk about the offense, let's talk about the defense. Communication and understanding and communicating from player to player and making sure that they understand their position and their role within the defense, that's incredibly important. And the only way you can really have great communication from player to player and when the moment really counts is almost instinctively knowing, understanding each other is by being around each other, right? By trusting each other. Derwin James didn't have people that he trusted that surrounded him. Now he has the people around him that he can trust to make sure he makes that play. He knows his cornerbacks are going to be there. right? And so that is super important. And when I say trust everybody, I mean that includes the people that aren't starters, right? So that is very exciting for me. I personally am very excited for OTAs to wrap up when we get into fan attendance with training camp. I can't wait to attend personally. But tell me, if you watch these press conferences, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about you've heard so far with OTAs. Do you think I'm maybe getting a little too excited, a little ahead of myself, or are you just in general feeling the same vibe, the same excitement that I am? Because I do feel like this is a special year. I feel like we're going to have some occasional up and downs. I don't think it's going to be 17-0 season, but I think that we're starting off on the right place. All right, we're starting off. Matt Money Smith said, kind of in an interesting way, when he sees like Joey Bosa show up for OTAs, he's like, it's better than him not showing up, right? So I guess that's maybe the most realist way you can approach it. I'm approaching it from a much more optimistic sense, and I genuinely think this is going to be a fantastic year, but doesn't matter until you actually see them and performing, right? But we're starting to see that confidence really shine, and I can't wait for what this season has to go. As OTAs unfold, any updates and any updates as we get into training camp and up lead up to the season, I'll be here. Now that I have a new mic set up, everything's going great and smooth. I'll be here to provide you with updates. So thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And bolt up, bolt out. I'm Bolt Dad. Thank you.